Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Legends of Sport podcast. Andy Bernstein, your shelter in place host. And back with another great guest, a guy I've known since literally he was 4 years old. Luke Walton is our guest today, currently the head coach of the Sacramento Kings. Luke, of course, the number 3 of 4 sons of the great Bill Walton, who's been basically a lifelong friend of mine. Luke had a stellar career at University of Arizona, became a two-time champion with the Lakers in 2009 and 10, and has gone on to the coaching ranks, coached the Lakers, and now he's coaching Sacramento after having a taste of what coaching would be in Golden State when he was so successful, and they won, I think, 24 in a row or something. It was insane when Steve Kerr went down with a bad back. So super happy to have Luke today. Phil Jackson had a great quote about Luke back in 2010 after the Lakers won the championship. He said, quote, "Bill may be his father, but he's really my son." Don't know what that means, but I reached out to Phil. Phil gave me some great quotes. Of course, Luke's dad, Bill, gave me some really, really great material. So we had a very spirited, very fun conversation. Luke is raising his 2 little ones with his wife, Bree, anxiously waiting to see what the NBA is in store for all of us to go back to work. So without further ado, here comes Luke Walton. Enjoy it, and I'll see you on the backside. So I want to welcome Luke Walton, the head coach of the Sacramento Kings, to the Legends of Sport podcast. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on. It's good to see you. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, good to see you too, my friend. So you had 2 birthdays recently, right? You had a significant birthday. I won't give out the number, right? And then your son, had a birthday a few days ago, right? How old was he?
My son turned 6 on the 25th.
Oh, God bless
So
him, man.
yeah, we've had and my wife Bree's birthday. We've had 3 of the 4 people we've had quarantine birthdays with
Oh,
myself, my wife, and my son.
oh,
We
jeez.
keep getting better on each one though. So my son's, we did like his friends did a drive by,
Yeah.
honking and waving out the window. It was a lot of fun.
Uh,
Um, and then our nanny lives with us too. Her birthday came during this time as well. So my daughter's the last one that has a chance to kind of
yeah.
possibly get out there and have a normal birthday. She's June 30th.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But she might fall into it too. So we'll see.
Yeah, my daughter is going to be 12 on June 16th, and she's already heartbroken. So
Yeah,
it's
I feel
sad.
it's got to be harder for that, that age, 12,
Yeah.
13, teenagers. Then my son turns 6, my daughter is going to turn 4. So
Yeah.
they don't they don't know much better anyway.
I want to pull up a picture. I'll have some pictures during this thing, but your dad sent me a really great picture of all you guys. This one, hopefully, do you see that?
Yeah, I got it.
Um, Picture of you guys on the bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, too cute, right? That
Yes.
was for the Bike for Humanity thing,
Bike
right?
for Humanity. That
Yeah, we
was
did that down here too. Your dad was he was on top of that, man.
you
Guys,
you guys got him. You got out on the bike.
we did, we
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
It
What a
was
great event that was. I think he ended up raising over $100,000. And that was the family and I
yeah,
doing our part up here in Sacramento.
that's awesome.
And
Hmm.
it's actually been one of, you try to, this has been very hard and sad. And I mean, it's tragic for,
Hmm.
the entire world right now, but you still, you still have to do your best to find ways to
Hmm.
make the best out of situations. So one of the things we've done, and something I normally don't get to be around for, is consistent family time and there every day, just because of my job and the amount of work
Hmm.
that we have to do. But
Yeah.
one of the things we've done is we taught my son how to ride a bike during this. We went and got some new bikes because we pretty much go on a ride at least once every couple of days now as a family through the neighborhood. And you
Hmm.
saw my wild crazy daughter in that photo.
So
So it's
cute.
been that's been one of the nice surprises. And yeah, the
Yeah.
Bike for Humanity was just that was awesome. That was Big Bill being Big Bill.
Only your dad could raise $100,000 on a virtual bike ride. It's
I know.
unbelievable, right? I don't know
I
how he
know.
did it, but we had a lot of fun. It was like the first time my wife, my daughter, and a good friend, we were able to get out of the house really and
Yeah.
just enjoy doing something that we used to do and we used to love, but getting back to it a little bit more. So, Luke, tell me how are you staying connected with your team? How are you guys dealing with that?
Yeah, we have staff members that are close with each player. Is
Mhm.
normally the guys that they work out, right? So the
Yeah.
player development coaches,
Hmm.
and they're in charge of making sure that they're staying in constant communication with the guys
Hmm.
in kind of a small group type of thing.
Hmm.
For myself, I try to reach out to the players just throughout the week, and I might not get to all of them one week, but
Hmm. Yeah.
just at least leave a voicemail or a text message, keep the communication going. There's
Hmm.
been a few Zoom calls, and
Hmm.
then you break that down into groups, right? So then there's also that's with the players, and then there's Zoom calls with me and my staff,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then there's Zoom calls with the training staff and the players and the
Yeah.
off that we've offered all the players whatever equipment that they could use at the house to work out or stay in
Yeah.
shape or treat themselves,
Hmm.
because no one knows where this is going, how it's going to end, when it's going to end. So
Right.
like we talked about how nice it is to get out and ride your bike. Working out is really, really good for your mental health
Yep.
especially when you're isolating and you're staying, everyone's at home as much as they are. So
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
offered all the players workout equipment to get delivered to their house. So there's always some sort of communication going on
Yeah.
between the organization here.
Yeah. A lot of you guys local, or did they go back home to?
There's most of the time there's about 7 players that are staying here in Sac.
Right.
Some of the players, especially some of the older players that have
Hmm.
either kids or have played other places, have left to go back to their hometowns where they have, it's easier to quarantine for them because that's kind of where they live in the off season. But we've had about 7 players in Sacramento pretty consistently.
Hmm. Yeah, we had Kevin Love on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about the mental health effects and really the difficulties that a lot of people are going through, not just athletes, of course, with the pandemic. Um, I'm sure your team is dealing with that and discussing that openly. It's really important to get all that discussed, I guess.
Oh yeah, it's huge. I mean, look, I think Kevin's done an unbelievable job. DeMar DeRozan as well is kind of
Hmm.
opening this world we live in. Professional sports, we're gladiators. There's no room for that type of mindset. That's kind of was the mentality, and Kevin Love, and he's done a great job helping break that down because
Yeah.
this is so much bigger than sports. The mental health of people and um, just being kind of a spokesperson for that. I've heard him do a couple podcasts about it, and he's incredible. He
Yeah.
really is. I think he's making a big difference in a lot of people's lives with sharing his experiences and what he's gone through and what he goes through. And yeah, it's not just athletes. Um, it's a lot of the world,
Hmm.
and especially right now when there's so many different things going on that are unknown, and people are out of work.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mental health in your mental state right now is probably more important than it's ever been,
Yeah. Sure.
since we've been alive, at least, because there's just so much unknown out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Kevin he's been great,
Mhm.
and like we
Yeah.
gave my dad a lot of love for getting out there on Bike of Humanity and raising money for people. Kevin, you got to give him a lot of love too for
Mhm.
some of the work that he's done.
Yeah, for sure. So you got to clear up something that Kevin told me. He said during the 2011 lockout that he played professional volleyball with you and that he sucked, and that you told him he sucked. He said specifically, Luke told me I was terrible.
No, Kevin was good. Kevin was good. I mean, listen, I lived in Manhattan Beach. I got drafted to the Lakers in
Right.
'03 and
Yeah, of
lived in Manhattan Beach, which is the mecca of beach volleyball. So
course.
I've played a lot
Yeah.
since
Yeah.
then.
He loved it though. He didn't get the
Kevin
fans,
Kevin was really good. He was good. You
Yeah.
could just tell he didn't play as much. Any trash talking was just me trying to have a competitive edge to win. You know, he was if he wanted to,
Yeah.
you know, that's the type of athlete he is and the skill that he has. If he wanted to,
Mhm.
he could be a very, very good volleyball player.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely got the height. So
And another guy we play with a lot of times now that made the change from basketball,
Mhm.
Chase Buttinger, who
Oh yes, right. I remember him.
was San Diego. So he grew up in San
Yeah,
Diego,
Diego dude.
McDonald's All-American, went to Arizona,
Right.
which is obviously where, you know, Richard and not Jefferson and I played.
Uh-huh.
Played in the league for however many years, and now but when he was in high school, he was the #1
Mhm.
volleyball recruit in the whole country.
Yeah.
Gave it up to play basketball, and as his basketball career came to an end, he's now on AVP and doing part of the tour. He's top 10, I think, or he's had a bunch of top 10 finishes. But it's fun to see. For me, it's fun to see basketball players playing volleyball, and volleyball guys trying to get out there and play basketball.
Yeah, we had Holly McPeak on, and she's a good friend, you know, Leonard Armato's wife, and I've known Leonard forever. And it was just painful. You know, they shut down the Strand, they shut down the beach. They live right there, like inches away, and she couldn't go out. But now, of course, they've opened it up a little bit. So,
Yeah. Oh, there's probably got to be some, depending on how close to the actual sand you live, there had to be a little bit part of that was nice.
Yeah. Oh, wake up and look at it.
You know what I mean? Like you wake up and look at it.
The sunset.
No one out there. It's night.
Yeah, and then they've had all these illuminated fish going on down.
Yeah. But what I heard was they shut the beach down, so everyone just moved it back one street.
Right.
So it was still that same foot traffic, just for all the people that lived a street back from the beach, not down the Strand.
Yeah, they couldn't move the ocean, so that
But I think they're opened again now. I think they opened up.
Yeah, I shouldn't be saying this publicly, but we ventured out to Zuma on Sunday, and first of all, it was packed, and my wife was like, "No, we're just going to look, and we're just going to touch the water." And of course, we stayed a while, but it was so great to see the ocean, man.
Oh, I know. I mean, we're up here in Sac, so I don't have that, but I took the kids down to the American River yesterday.
Oh, really?
We found a nice little swimming hole, and it was just the same feeling as the ocean, where you're just outside.
Yeah.
Nature, and we went swimming in the river, and it was a great breakup. Again, going back to mental health stuff for just your psyche, to get out of the house and do something like that. So I had the same feeling you had sneaking over to Zuma Beach to touch the Pacific.
Yeah, when they get a little older, you got to whitewater raft down the American River. I did it from up there near Sac. Probably like the same
on the American River. You did?
Yeah, it was great. And when I was in college, but unbelievable. You can do all these trips for like 1 night, 2 nights. You camp out. They bring the food.
So I used to do. My dad was big into whitewater rafting when I was probably in college, around that age. So we've done some trips with him, and I agree with you. I mean, it's awesome when you're out there and you're staying the night, setting up camps.
Yeah.
What did you got any photos of? I'm assuming when you were in college doing that stuff. What year was that?
Oh God, it was prehistoric. Let's see, at that point I was out here around 78, 79. Yeah.
Did you ever have the long?
No, I had the big Jufro.
Okay, see, that's what you should have a picture of.
Oh,
that's what you should put up on the podcast. I want to see at some point have someone track down that fro and get it on the podcast.
That's what your dad remembered from me. I want to share this picture. Do you see this picture?
Yeah, see, that's actually a picture he's got hanging up at his house. That's one of my all-time favorites.
So you're in this picture, obviously.
Yep.
Right?
It's my brother Nate between his legs, my older brother Nate between his legs, my younger brother Chris on the far side, and I'm the one that's staring at him and looking at him.
Well, I mean, this is my earliest memory of your dad and of you, but I was working for the Clippers. The Clippers moved from San Diego to LA, and your dad told me the whole story about getting the place in Hermosa Beach and all that. But I remember a young Luke like tagging along with your brothers, with your dad. I don't remember it on the bench and stuff, but I do remember you at games and waiting for him and stuff. That must have been a big change for you guys, having to go from San Diego to up to LA. You know, being
Yeah, I think we were young enough still that we were pretty. It was pretty cool with us. It was, at least for me. I don't look back at it as this huge change.
yeah,
We were doing in San Diego. We didn't live near the beach, but that's what we would do when my dad was home. He'd load up the car. Him and Greg Lee, who was his
yeah,
college point guard and best friend, he had 2 young kids too, and we'd all go to the beach all day. So then when we moved to Hermosa Beach, it was no different other than we just didn't have to get in the car.
right.
You know what I mean? We were right behind the green store down there by the water, and we spent every day down at the beach. But what's great is that picture reminds me of when I was playing for the Lakers. Craig Hodges was our shooting coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Craig told me, his rookie year that my dad used to make Craig sit on the floor so that we could sit so there was room on the bench for me and my brothers.
I mean, the picture shows it. Your dad's obviously in uniform. He used to just pile on to him during the game. Like,
I mean, I don't remember doing it, but if Andy, you know my dad. He kind of he does what he wants to in life.
Yeah.
And that's tell a rookie to sit on the floor so his kids have room. He's got no problem to do that.
That's hilarious. So, well, speaking of your dad, because we got to go there. So I reach out to your dad and I say, I'm having your son Luke on my podcast. Can you give me one quote or a story from childhood? In your dad's fashion, he sends me a 2-page typewritten list, 30 topics. And then on top of that, he tells me to call him. I'm on the phone with him an hour and a half over
yeah.
So I have a few.
That's longer than our whole podcast is going to be.
Yeah, right. But I got a few tidbits. He was telling me about how the laundry room was your closet, that you'd get dressed in the car and eat breakfast on the way to school, all kinds of crazy stuff. How competitive you are as a kid, especially at Monopoly. I have a picture here of all you guys. Let's see, where is it? Well, this is I love this picture. This one's great of all you guys. But there's a picture here of you guys like jumping center in the driveway. I just love that. Look at that picture. That is so cool. That's like your childhood summed up right there, right?
That's it. And it 9 out of 10 times ended in a fight.
Well, it's 4 boys, right? So you're third.
So 4 of us, and we're all 2 years apart. So there was, it was fighting every day. And the best is we'd always beg my dad to get out there and play with us.
Yeah.
And he normally wouldn't, but when he did, he would throw elbows. I mean, it wasn't like he was having a fun game with his kids. And then there was one time I remember he elbowed my older brother Nate right in the eye, split his eye, and when Nate starts crying and whatnot.
Oh man.
And yeah, there we are, same court, just a couple years older in that one.
What's the dog's name? I remember
Annie.
That
was Andy the Rottweiler.
When they came over the house with the TP and the whole, that's a whole other podcast. But
that is a whole other.
Oh my God, yeah.
It was a lot of fun, and it was, growing up in a big family with 3 brothers around the same age, with that house and with my dad being who he was. Thank God for my mother.
Yeah. I know your mom. Your mom, Susie, is great. She's terrific.
She is great. Yeah, she's a saint, and an angel who, now that we've moved further into life and all have kids of our own, she's doing a great job helping out as a grandmother role.
I ran into Bree and your mom at some cafe in Berkeley like a couple of years ago. I was with my older brother, and I looked at Bree and she looked at me. I'm like, we know each other. We had a great conversation. It was so great. This is another picture of you guys. I mean, you know all these pictures, but the people out there don't know. I love this. And
the best thing about that picture is everything any of us is wearing is like free NBA gear. So the laundry room my dad tells you about, it was where all the clothes were kept.
Yeah, right.
No one had their own clothes.
Yep.
It was just, you go in there and whatever fits you, and whoever gets in there first picks out what they want.
Right.
And but between the hats and the Larry Bird shirt and the Pacers bat, like everything we had
Yeah.
um, was just like free NBA
Yeah.
swag
Indian swag.
from
Look,
people sending us.
my older kids grew up like that too. So my younger one, she doesn't want any part of that stuff. But
Yeah,
the older kids, absolutely. My daughter Julia, who's my second, is now 24. She was a tomboy. She loved that stuff.
yeah,
Yeah. So I didn't know you were named after Maurice Lucas. That was a surprise to me, and
yeah,
that of course your dad called Maurice one of his greatest teammate, is what he said.
yeah, yeah,
And you and Mo's son David were close when he went
yeah.
to Oregon State, right?
He went to Oregon State. He's a
Yeah.
really good basketball player. Now he's running his dad's foundation.
Yeah.
Maurice obviously sadly passed away
Yeah.
from cancer, but
Mhm.
growing up, I used to, Maurice would come down every summer, and he was the nicest man of all
Yeah.
time. So as kids, my brother, he was like this big teddy bear. So my brothers and I
Yeah.
loved when Maurice was coming down with the family. And I used to have this picture of him in my room where he had like this nasty beard, and
That's how I remember.
he was
Yeah.
cocked back ready to punch somebody. But like that, I didn't put two and two together until I got much older, and I actually saw footage of him
Mhm.
and learned the other side of him, what a badass he was.
Yeah.
And my dad said, he told me the reason he named him after him is because he protected my dad. Anytime someone fouled him,
Yeah.
the next play down was a guaranteed that guy would be laying on the floor. And and
He was like Marty McSorley to Gretzky, right?
exactly same type of thing.
Right.
And
Like your
but it
dad
was
could take
just,
care
as
of
a
his
kid, it
own.
was crazy. He was the nicest. You would never think that that's how he played the game, but
Yeah.
he was a tough son of a gun.
Yeah, died too early, man. And your dad told me that you were the one who broke the news to him, that you were in the Laker locker room and you found out that Maurice died, and that you called your dad. And it must.
Well, he's family.
Yeah.
Like when I heard, I just
Mm.
it was. How do you deal with that? How do you handle that? It's
Yeah.
tough. You got to call people you love and people that are close to you, and
Yeah.
kind of, he was way too young.
Yeah.
Way too young.
It's sad, man.
It's sad. But
Many
like
of
you
those.
said, his son David is doing an amazing job keeping the name going.
Mm-hmm. So your dad told me that, and I didn't know this, of course, but that you only went on one recruiting trip, and that was to Arizona. And you came back. You said, cancel all the other ones. I'm going to Arizona because I met Coach Olson and I met Richard Jefferson. Right. So you obviously bonded with RJ right from the start, right? And you
Yeah,
guys.
so we had I had trips set up to UCLA and USC and Arizona and Utah, who had Majerus at the time and had a great program. And I think I had one out to Boston College because my older brother was playing at Princeton, so I wanted to get out east. And Arizona was the first one, and every one of the coaches that I had trips set up to made me promise that I wouldn't commit on my first visit. I said, of course, I'm taking all 5.
Yeah.
I got to Arizona and I spent a day with Lute Olson, and Richard Jefferson was on the same trip, and so was a kid, Ricky Anderson from Long Beach, who ended up signing with us too. We all were small forwards. They brought all 3 of us out, said they're going to take whatever 2 commit first.
Yeah.
Miles Simon and Mike Bibby were our host. And it was the best 48 hours. It was all you could ask. I mean, it was beautiful campus, nice weather. Mike and Jason Terry were playing 3-on-3 like in McHale Center till 2 a.m. on a Friday night, and it was like a basketball junkie's dream. Mm-hmm. So when Lute Olson took me to the airport in the morning, I was just like, he's like, "What are you thinking?" I'm in, done. Signed the deal. Richard and I had kind of joked about it the night before, like, because he had a lot of the same schools I had, which were West Coast schools mainly.
Yeah.
I said, this is crazy. We're in. Let's do it. So then I went to the airport first, committed, and then Richard went. And he said he was dying laughing when Coach told him that I had already committed. So he didn't think I'd really do it. So then he committed. And then Ricky Anderson, who's a dear friend of ours too, and his dad is a legendary Long Beach coach, coached at Long Beach City for years, and played for Lute Olson back, I think, when he was coaching at Long Beach State, maybe. So they had their connection. And Ricky was a top player in the West as well. They said we're only taking 2. So Ricky wanted to go so bad. He called because he was the third one. He called and said, let me redshirt my freshman year. And that's how bad I want to come to Arizona. Lute Olson said yes, and all 3 of us ended up committing. And we were probably the 3 highest ranked wing players on the West Coast at the time.
Yeah, no pressure from your dad. He said with your brothers too to go to UCLA. It was just really up to you guys.
Yeah, my dad was great with that.
Yeah,
he really, and so thankful now that I have kids, having the awareness and experience of what that was like. He didn't push it on us. He pushed us to find what we were passionate about in life, whether that was music, education, sports, but never once pushed basketball on us. Let us kind of find it for ourselves. And it was the same with recruiting and making that decision. He was always there to answer questions, and he would ask us if, is there something you want my opinion on? I have an opinion, as we all know. He's got a lot of opinions, and there was a lot of times I'd be like, yeah, give it to me. And there was a handful of times I said, no, let me figure this out. Mm-hmm. And he was fine with that. But when I chose Arizona, he was, even though he's diehard a UCLA guy, he was on cloud 9 because of how much he loved and respected Lute Olson. Thought he reminded him a lot of John Wooden, and the fact that I was gonna go learn and play, and really for a parent, trusting where your kid's gonna go for the first time when he leaves home.
Yeah.
Under that Lute Olson family, he was thrilled with.
Do you feel your relationship with Coach Olson was similar, in retrospect to what your dad had with Coach Wooden?
Yeah, there was similarities. I don't think I was a tenth of the problem that my dad was for Wooden. I mean,
consider the
2 of them. I mean, that had to be a daily struggle. Lute Olson and I, we had it, like all player and coaches. You have your ups and your downs, and you disagree about things. But we had a pretty solid relationship throughout.
So let's fast forward. You come to the Lakers. You're drafted by the Lakers, and I have a photo here. I got to show you this photo. You probably don't even remember this picture that I took. Where is it? Oh yeah, this one. This is me taking a picture of you. I think that was your rookie year.
That is my rookie year because I got my LA Gears on.
Your LA Gears, I love it.
I only wore them for 1 year, and that was my rookie year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, I don't remember that at all, but that's pretty funny.
Neither do I. But I found the picture. But so you're part of 2 amazing championships in 2009 and 10. Do you have a memory that you can share, or any, like, was either one of them sweeter than the other? Maybe the first one, I guess, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I would say the first one if the second one wasn't Game 7 against the Boston Celtics.
Right.
I mean, like, it's tough to get sweeter than that. As a, being understanding what that rivalry is. My dad actually winning championships with the Celtics. All of that made that one probably the sweetest. As far as the big picture and whatnot, but the first one, the one in Orlando, I mean, we had been to the finals in 2004, my rookie year, and lost.
Right.
And we had been fighting to get back ever since we got back the year. And, Boston's destroyed us in Game 6. And, like, just that feeling of going through those battles and losing and everything that it takes with pretty much that core of players, what that emotionally felt like when that final buzzer sounded was probably one moment that sticks out more than any in my basketball career.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I reached out to Phil Jackson about you, and he has a couple of quotes. I think you might like him. He said, I remember Phil saying at one point that you were the only guy who understood the triangle. Either the only guy who paid attention or cared to know about it, or that you were just smarter than everyone else. But Phil had a great quote. He says, Luke has the mentality of team play, quote, hit the open man, move the ball, all the things we preached. He said, the players really enjoyed playing with you, that you were a guy who knew the heartbeat of the team, and you served as the leader of the bench boys, right, which was important. And he needed to know that he had an ally there on the bench, and in the locker room. That was important to him.
Yeah, and it was, I loved the triangle. Like it to me, it's a beautiful offense. There's always an option. All five guys are involved, which when you're a role player, you really appreciate.
You might actually touch the ball at some point.
You do touch the ball.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, no matter, even if you're not shooting it, you're still flashing. It's all connected. But it takes time to learn. So, but I was diligent about it. And I also realized that it was probably going to help me stay in the NBA longer if I could, really understand it, so that I could start trying to master it and be able to take advantage of where and when my opportunities would come. And a lot of times those weren't just opportunities to score. They'd be opportunities to make for others or release pressure or whatnot. But once you get an understanding of the triangle offense, it all makes sense. As far as basketball is concerned, it's just the next natural flow of what should come.
Right.
And I loved that. I loved being part of those teams. I loved playing under Phil Jackson, learning from him.
This picture. I love this picture.
You know what? Yeah, that is great. And what's funny about this is I was dying laughing.
Yeah.
Because when I was watching The Last Dance and they won, Phil was in there with cigars and he was in the middle of the champagne huddles. And I think that might be the Boston one in LA.
Yeah, I think this is 2010. Yes, definitely. Yeah, so the shirt says
but when we won in Orlando,
yep,
he wouldn't even come in the room until the celebration was over.
Right.
The champagne celebration.
Yeah.
So we hid, I think it was Kobe or Derek hid like 2 bottles, and he was like poking his head out. He didn't want to get wet. Like that's how many championships he has won.
Yep.
So I was laughing because in The Last Dance, he's younger, and obviously it's newer to him.
Yeah.
But he's in the middle of it all with a cigar in his mouth and drenched in champagne. So in Orlando, he wouldn't come out until we were done. So we made the plan that once he came to bring it up, we're going to grab him and hold him, and then with whatever bottles we had hidden left, we were going to soak him with. So we did that. He was mother effing us, and with a smile on his face, obviously, but just to kind of see it come full circle was pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm going to stick that photo in there because I was in the coach's room in Orlando, and he puts the 10 hat on. This is his 10th champion. Yeah. And he knew he had to go out there to see you guys at some point, right? I think he had an idea that something was going to happen. So I just followed him in, and just like you said, man, you guys ambushed him and just drenched it. He loved it, though.
Yeah.
That was such a great moment. So you played for some really great coaches. I mean, you mentioned Greg Lee, who your dad said was a super influence to you, and then, of course, Lute Olson, and then Phil Jackson. I mean, it doesn't really get better than that, right? So when did the whole coaching bug happen with you? When did, I don't know.
Well, I had a pretty serious back injury
about
halfway through my playing career, and I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to play again. Really, some doctors wanted to do surgery and try to fuse it, and I would rehab for 3 weeks straight, and then 2 days into practice, my whole leg would go numb. I was like nerve pain type of issue, so there wasn't much I could do. And it was pretty dark and depressing. I mean, when you're an athlete, you play your entire life and you get hurt, but you always know you're coming back.
Mhm.
Um, and when you're part of a team, you know it. Like the team's always moving forward. So when guys get hurt, unfortunately, a lot of times they kind of get left to the back until they're ready to play again. So I was in a pretty dark and depressed place, and what I loved doing most I couldn't do, and
Mm.
the teammates that I loved to death. I mean, we were still great and whatnot, but I didn't feel like I was part of what we were doing anymore. And I think Phil recognized that, and being the great leader that he is, and coach, he invited me into the coaching circle. I think as a way to kind of get me feeling part of the group again. And he had me charting, shots and stats on the bench, sitting in on coaches' meetings, um, film sessions, all those type of things. And it was really interesting to see the amount of detail and work that was actually going in. You're the player, you see the final result, and that's it. What they present you, and that's in a tiny abbreviated fraction of what the coaches have done to prep for what they show you. So to kind of see that part of it and the strategy behind it, which I loved it already as a competitor, part of the game, was kind of where I first said, hey, could definitely be something that I'd find a passion for whenever, I officially can't play anymore.
Did he ever tell you the similarities between his situation with Red Holtzman?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
In
very similar.
73, and they went to the championship, and Red did the same thing, gave him the clipboard, and
Yeah, and back then he said that obviously the staffs were much smaller,
yeah,
so it was like just him,
yeah,
and he gave him the clipboard. It was the same idea though,
yeah,
very similar story, and the
yeah.
way Phil says it is much nicer than how Kobe described the the similarities between the two of us.
But what did Kobe say? I forgot.
Kobe said something along the lines of, they asked him when I got into coaching and we had some success up in Golden State,
Yeah,
and he said something short along the lines of, yeah, I knew Luke would be a great coach. Um, him and Phil are very similar. They were both average basketball players with fucked up backs, something like that. So his comparison was, you know what I mean, like
yeah,
mediocre basketball players,
yeah.
messed up backs. That's it.
Very cut and dry.
That's the recipe to be a good coach.
So, Luke, you're a parent and you're a head coach of a professional basketball team. And I once had dinner with Phil. We were in San Antonio during the playoffs at some point, and I had become a father and young father, and I asked him straight out. I said, what's the similarities or the differences between parenting and coaching in the NBA? And he said, it's the same damn thing, except these guys have much more money. So I don't know if I'm asking for a comment on that, but it was just an hilarious.
Yeah, I do think that parenting. I do think parenting gives you a broader perspective and makes, for me, make me a better coach. The fact that I have kids and I'm raising and whatnot, I think has made me a better coach.
Yeah, for sure. And you've been known throughout your career. You're a younger coach. You relate really well. That's common. Everyone knows that the younger players really enjoy working with you. You're not that far removed from the game, So are you finding with your young team, you have a young team up there in Sacramento, that's a real advantage for you coaching now?
Well, I think it's more part of a huge part of my philosophy is just the relationship part of coaching. I think because of what kind of relationship I had with Phil and the relationship I had with Coach Olson, and even going back into high school, and how much they meant to me, I try to put a big focus and emphasis on the communication and relationship that not only myself but my coaching staff has with the players. And part of that, again, it wasn't just with Phil. Like when I played, Brian Shaw was an assistant, and I love Brian Shaw. Like that relationship is that bond is very strong. And so again, so when I'm talking to my assistants, I make a point, like, get out there and touch these players, like get to know them. Don't, not just about basketball, but whatnot. I think the players today really embrace that and enjoy that part of what my coaching staff provides.
Mm. So, Luke, the last thing I want to talk about is our mutual friend Kobe. Um, Still, super fresh, and it's impossible to even talk about the tragedy. But was interesting to me, and I didn't realize this, that your dad played with his dad, Jelly Bean Bryant, in San Diego, and now you were playing with Kobe, and it's just a weird. Do you remember Kobe from childhood in any way?
No, not at all.
Yeah,
No.
I didn't think
He
so.
was the class of '96 coming out of high school. I was '98, so
Yeah,
he was 2 years older.
yeah.
But I didn't. The first memories I had of Kobe were, watching when my dad was doing those that Pacers. Was it? I can't remember what series it was, but my dad was working the games, and my brothers and I were
It
going
was
up.
probably the finals, the 2001 or 2000.
It could have been.
Yeah.
And like being at the building and seeing
Yeah.
his intensity of what he was doing and thinking, like, this guy's only 2 years older than me. Like, this is crazy. Like his mental toughness is like something, it was just insane to see. And I wasn't in the locker room or anything. I was just kind of always on the side of my dad watching him do interviews, but just seeing that focus he had, I couldn't believe that he was just 2 years older.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, you see these pictures of you and him together, so locked in, focused. I mean,
Well, yeah, because he knew I understood the triangle, so he
right.
he wanted to score all the time. So he was right there. He's probably telling me, like, listen, this is how they're guarding me. Make sure you get to that opposite post so you can flash. You know what I mean? Like, he knew that, like a game of chess, he could let me know where he was going to be, because the beauty of the triangle, you can hit anyone at any time.
Yeah.
But playing with him and playing with Shaq, there were certain guys you better hit more often than not if you wanted to stay on the court.
Exactly. Yeah, but so many great moments with you guys. I mean, this is when you were injured, right? And just you guys just had this great relationship, as I remember. And I remember. I mean, there were moments like this. This was, I think, 2010. This is, I think, the finals in 2010. Bynum is in this picture. So
yeah. That's that group. So yeah,
yeah.
we had a brotherhood that was pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
And when you got to know Kobe like that, which you have as well, because you've been around that long.
Yep.
It's just, he's such an amazing person, and I know people have all heard the stories, and I still don't believe it. Like when I
know
it just doesn't make sense. But he was such an amazing person, and he's such I mean, the fact I got to play 8 of my 10 years alongside of him was just, that was so awesome. And it wasn't always easy. It was crazy watching The Last Dance. There's a lot of similarities between him and Jordan. He was a dick, but he was he had your back as a teammate. When you needed him to have your back, he did. And he did a lot of things for guys that didn't make it to the media. They didn't, he wasn't doing it to get credit. He was doing it because he cared. And he's done a lot of things that people don't know about, that are just really, speak to the type of guy he is when you're in his inner circle. And it's so tragic.
Yeah, I can't even. I still can't talk about it. But the last thing I want to ask you is, what do you feel his legacy is? I mean, in the game and in life, what did he leave to all of us to carry on? And I'm sure you're imparting that to your young players and your coaches. He left something to us.
Yeah, a lot, and I can take that answer in a lot of different directions, but I think one of the main things that I take with me and that I remind myself of, which he had this ability that I've never seen matched, was to take whatever the situation was, simplify it and attack it. I mean, there was no room for feeling sorry. There was no room for anything. It was, okay, that happened. This is what we're going to do, work and outwork everybody. And he could do it about everything. And it was, and when he got done explaining himself, you would look at him and be like, yeah, that's simple. That makes sense. Why wouldn't we do that? And he lived his life like that all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that ability is just such an incredible way to live a successful life. And I think also the amount of joy he got from being involved in teaching others towards the end of his career and as he retired was something he felt really good about. And you know, I think something that you take with you as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, as a parent, I also get sort of caught up in my kids getting frustrated and they can't let go of stuff. And, you know, we do that as adults too, but it always amazed me how he shook stuff off. I mean,
Unbelievable.
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 In an instant, he would just shake it off, go out, and like you said, and just go attack. And it's a great way to live your life. You know, just don't linger, and don't dwell on things, and get through it. And that I guess is the essence of the Mamba mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man.
And not only do it, then go out there and then outwork everybody. If it really means that much, you go work harder. Right. I mean, that was kind of his simple. You want something, go work harder.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Are you bringing that to the bench? Are you telling your guys that? Are you bringing up like Kobe stories?
No, you know, to me, my philosophy on it is like, look, we had our time, and there's appropriate times to tell old stories, which we'll get into, you know, on the staff. But for this is their time. This is the players that we have that are playing right now, that are in their careers, whether it's the prime, the beginning, towards the end, like this is their time. So we try to keep most of our focus on them and what we're doing. And then if there's obviously an occasional story that flows into where we're at in the season, then we'll share something. But I don't like to go too often into the past.
Yeah. Are you giving out books to the guys like Phil used to do?
We did one. We've done one so far during the quarantine. We gave out The Obstacle is the Way. The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, who happens to be a Sacramento native, right? So he's a diehard Kings fan. We had him kind of do a little video clip and then mailed a copy out to each player, just as obviously with what we're going through, it's kind of a relevant topic. So they everyone's received a copy of that on the coaching staff and the players.
That's awesome. Well, Luke, listen, man, I hope I see you on a court someplace, somewhere, at some point. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I don't know anything, but it would be great.
Well, we know the NBA is doing everything they can, right? Like
right.
People that have been around as long as you and I have understand how you know, the NBA's, they're going to try everything they can. They know that it's everyone wants back and the players want back, but they also know that they got to take everyone's safety into account. So
100%, and then that's the only way I want it. I mean, I wouldn't want it to be, you know, any risk whatsoever. So, but I wish you the best, you and Bree and the kids. Enjoy this crazy time, you know, that none of us are ever home this time of year. So it's kind of interesting to be home doing family stuff. And I'll send you regards to your dad. He wanted me to follow up after we chatted.
Yeah.
I didn't want to know if I asked all 30 questions, but I'm not.
The pictures were great. That was a nice touch. I haven't seen a lot of those pictures in a long time, so that was good.
Lori sent them to me, so I could actually send you the same Dropbox she sent me. So. Perfect. All right, buddy.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
You're the best. Thanks, Luke. Take care, man. Stay well. Stay safe. Okay.
Yeah, you too. You and the family too.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay.
Bye. So much fun to connect with Luke Walton. Wow, I just really enjoyed talking to him and his perspective on the game today and where he came from, the pedigree, being the son of the great Bill Walton. just a great guy. I just have always enjoyed being around Luke. So thank you so much, Luke, for making the time for us today, bringing some wisdom, some great stories. I love the stories about you growing up and what that was like in that crazy household of four boys, and your journey through the NBA and into the coaching ranks, and paying incredible respect and homage to the great Lute Olson, as well as Phil Jackson. And you have a very long career ahead of you, my friend, and I'm hopefully going to be there to record it. Hopefully we'll be back on the court soon together, and have some laughs, and have some great memories of the great Kobe Bryant, because I know you were a great teammate of his, and we miss him, but thank you for sharing your memories of Kobe today with all of us. So everybody, please remember to keep following us on Instagram at Legends of Sport, at Twitter at Legends_of_Sport, and on our blog, legendsofsport.blog. My photography always can be found at ADB Photo Inc. Again, going to say it again because I say it every week. Some great guests coming up. We have a major announcement to make, which I still can't make, but I will make it very soon through our social media platforms. Stay tuned for that, and keep following us. Keep telling your friends. Keep downloading. Keep sharing. Whatever you got to do to get the word out about Legends of Sport, because we love bringing this content to you. Thanks again to my producer, Veronica Ahn, for getting me ready, as she always does, for the podcast. Everybody stay safe, stay well, and we will see you next time.